The evidence is that healthy people with heart disease generally do fine on this medication, but like any medications, they should be prescribed by a doctor who's actually following the patient, knows what to expect, and is able to monitor it. And all medications should be used that way, and this is no different. But in general, this is a very safe medication. The medication itself has, in some people, perhaps 10% of normal people, can change the pacing of the heart muscle contractions, called the heart rhythm. That change has only measurement value. In other words, if you measure it on an electrocardiogram, you can see it. It has essentially no bearing for almost everyone who has that as to any risks for a real arrhythmia that has potentially life-threatening consequences. It is a very, very, very low risk.
It's interesting you should say that. On May 15, the Washington Post, drug promoted by Trump as coronavirus game changer increasingly linked to deaths. That was the headline that was blared. Is that true? It's increasingly linked to deaths? And what's their data for this?
First of all, it doesn't say in which patients. If you're talking about very sick hospitalized patients who get it as a last-ditch effort because nothing else is working, then there might be some relationship like that. If you're talking about healthy outpatients who are getting it among for example, the 10 billion people who've gotten this over the last 65 years, there's no relationship at all. And so you have to be very specific about who you're talking about when you make statements like that.
You know, again, as a pedestrian, no expert, but I read the various reports, I read what you write, and I draw my own conclusions from this. It is incredible to me that in the middle of this pandemic, that a drug that has been used for over half a century, where the testing has been so thorough, and it's been ubiquitous, and it's so cheap, each pill is very, very cheap, that there is this effort to fight it and to destroy the doctors and the experts who dare to suggest that in the early stages, or even maybe as a prophylactic, you might want to use this if it's prescribed by a doctor. Now pharmacists are afraid to provide it, and now doctors are concerned to prescribe it, and some hospitals won't prescribe it, and this has been politicized in an incredible way. And you write here, wait a minute, this drug can save thousands and thousands of lives. Have you ever seen anything like this?
Never know that somehow we've let politics overrule science. And it's an absurd situation. People have compared this to 1984 and the Ministry of Truth and so on, that's limiting what people can say on objective facts. It's beyond belief.
And I watch when you do interviews on other networks, these so-called news hosts are literally angry at you. They're shouting you down, they're interrupting you. They won't even let you make your case. That seems a little odd too, doesn't it?
Well, here's the thing. I think they know that the treatment works. I think that basically they're afraid to even let it be tried, because letting it be tried would show that it works. So the message has to be shut at all costs, because anything will leak out. And in fact, it is leaking out. And you see across the country people who started to speak up, who've become almost deathly ill and have been turned around in 3 days or sooner even. And these are now public figures who are speaking up, who've said that the medicine saved their life. And it's very difficult to, close all the leaks in that dike that are being suppressed by the media that are trying to do that.
But it's also being suppressed by individuals in these various scientific and medical communities in the federal government who've been around a very long time, the bureaucrats, if you will, who are claiming that they're the ones following the science, and you and people like you are not following the science. And when we come back, I want to ask you about that as a professional, as an expert, a man who's been in this field for decades. What can be done when the bureaucrats in the federal government, who are backed up by the media, because from a political perspective, this is how they approach it. What can be done in the private sector when you have experts, when you have people, professors at universities, doctors who've been practicing, and say, wait a minute, we need access to this drug, our patients need access to this drug. We'll be right back.